Taupo East Rural Community Grants Committee meeting on today, the 28th of April 2026. Thank you for taking the time to be here. It's wonderful to have everybody here, and thank you to our two independents, Annika and Ross, for joining us and for your consideration of the documents that we've had prior to the meeting. We're going to start with our karakia today, so if everybody wouldn't mind joining me with tui ki te Māori o te whenua, tui ki te mana o te tangata, tui ki te pono te aroha, kia piki, kia eke, ki te taumata, huie, taekie. I haven't received any apologies today as the chair, so we will move on from that.
Christine's not here.
Oh, sorry, we have an apology from Councillor Christine Rankin. Rachel, would you like to move that? Thank you. And Nicola will second. Thank you. All those in favour? Anyone against? Carried. Conflicts of interest, I need to declare one with the Taupō Academy of Dance application. Are there any other conflicts of interest pertaining to the items on the agenda? No? Okay. Do I need to move? No, we just accept that.
We just accept it.
So at the time that that item is discussed, Councillor Cameron will take over the chairing of the meeting for me. If people wish that I leave the room, I'm happy to do so, or I'm happy to just sit and be quiet, whichever the table would like to have happen. Next item is item 4.1, the confirmation of minutes. We don't have any confirmation of minutes as this is the first meeting of the Taupō East Rural Community Grants Committee for this triennium. So item 5.1 to be discussed, April 2026, Taupō and Taupō East Rural Community Fund distribution. I'd like to invite Ms. Forlong, to our Senior Funding and Partnership Advisor, to speak to the members, please.
Awesome. Mōrena everyone. For those in the community who are here, my name's Briar. I sit in part of the community team at Taupō District Council, and I manage our community grants and funding stuff that we do. So I just wanted to say a huge thank you for being here today to listen into the meeting. It's really awesome reading through all your applications and seeing, the awesome stuff that's going on across our community. A huge credit to the work that you do because it's massive. Committee. So we're here today to allocate. We've got $75,000 to allocate. We've had $178,387 requested from us. So a big day today to work through all the applications. We've had 47 in total. And as part of your agenda pack, you have had our assessment of these application against our community funding framework. So that looks at things like, is the purpose really clear of what you're trying to do as an applicant? Have you got a clear budget? Have you evidenced if you're collaborating with other groups? And a few different aspects, other things we consider to put forward a recommendation to you. And you've received that summary as part of your agenda pack. Are there any questions so far? No?
Thanks, Briar. Just for the members of the public here, just to give you some assurance. So your applications came through to each member of the committee, and we went through and were able to read those applications and to have any questions that we have go backwards again, which is why we won't be requiring any presentations from any of you today, because we had the opportunity during the last 6 weeks to go through and to ask any questions that we had and to get any further information.
Yeah. There are, we have been through your questions and gone back to some of our applicants and have some updates for you, and some are in the room who you did have questions about, so we might invite them up to answer in person on their behalf, or not on their behalf, in person for you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Brian.
Cool.
Any points of clarification at this stage? Okay.
Would it be helpful for us to work through those questions that you did have now? Or?
Yeah. Because I know I had a couple of questions that I put forward, and it would help me to have some answers to those before we start deliberating, if that's okay.
Very happy with that.
Okay. So what we've done is your summary sheet will work through in order of the names that are on there. So we received a question about the Taupō Budget Advisory Service application, and that was around who else in the community provides a similar service and how do they collaborate or work together.
Excuse me, can I just ask you, tell us if have you got the numbers next to the names as well in terms of the
Sure.
applicant? Just then we
This
can.
is number one.
Awesome, thanks.
Yeah. So just confirming there are other groups in the community who do work around budgeting and advice. And we've had some applications come through from Family and Financial Solutions Trust and Momentum Charitable Trust. They service quite different groups within the community, but definitely do collaborate with one another. There is someone from Budget House here today if you wanted to further clarification on that.
I'm quite happy with that explanation. I'm fairly sure that was my question, so thank you, Brian.
That's okay, cool. So the next one is number 3, so the Lake Taupō Woodworkers Guild. So they've requested funding from us to support operational costs. It was for the rent of the club workshops. So we can confirm they rent the, what is it called? The old shearing shed in Hindmarsh Drive at Rangatira Park from Lake Taupō Hospice. And a letter of support has been provided from Lake Taupō to say that that's the arrangement. It's $200 per month.
Excellent, thank you.
That's okay. The next application, just an update for you on number 7. So Town Centre Taupō. We just noted that that also submitted to the Creative Community Scheme Fund. The allocation meeting for that took place last week, and they were successful in receiving $8,000, which is awesome. They're definitely still eligible to apply to both of these funding pools. The Creative Community Scheme is one that we administer, but it's funding that comes through from central government, so there's no conflict there. Just an update. Application number 11, so Citizens Advice Bureau. We had a question around will the entire amount stay in the district? So just confirming that their constitution and governance set up is for the Taupō district only.
Thank you, I think that was another Kylie one, so that's great.
We had a question, so application 12, Family and Financial Solutions Trust, that was just around the collaboration with other groups who do similar things within the community. Again, they just service slightly different groups, but definitely work together. A note too that they requested $6,000 in their application, and we've been back to them to advise we can only grant a maximum of $5,000 under our policy.
Thank you.
Okay, jumping a few pages ahead, application 21. So Ross, I think this was a question from you around the Oranui Pony Club, around their quotes. Just clarifying, we do, so they've provided a quote and we pay GST on top of that, so that's what they've asked for, and we can go back and sort that out with them. The next one on the list was Aphasia New Zealand. A few questions. Let me just have a look. So the questions we had were how much would go directly to Taupō community people versus admin out of town, as well as what is the number of people being directly impacted in the Taupō district. So the group have confirmed they've made 265 contacts in the Taupō community over the last year. They usually support about 20 people with the Fascia Plus program and their whānau at any one time. Usually a majority of the grant is spent within Taupō, and if the council want to specify the amount spent in Taupō, we will comply with that. It's useful to be able to apply for funding for our costs that are spent and split across the regions if possible. The types of things we generally put this towards are Microsoft Office licenses, CRM cost, and that is all they have said. So generally they divvy it between Taupō specific programs and then overall administration costs.
Thank you.
I'll just pause there. I know we're rushing through quite quickly. Does anyone have any questions at this point about those that we've touched on?
I just wanted to clarify, you were satisfied with the Oroonui Pony Club response, Ross?
Yes, I was.
Thank you.
Just turn it off. Awesome. The next one on the list was brain injury Waikato, so number 25 on your summary sheet. So we had some queries around what 70 Taupō locals on their database meant. If the Bay Trust funding they get is targeted to the Taupō branch only, can they detail or provide more detail around what office and related expenses are and how much is allocated to our community and how much to admin? So in response to those questions, the 70 individuals from the Taupō region who are actively engaged with the service, that includes regular direct support, delivery of resources and tailored information, invitations to and attendance at support groups or education sessions. While not every individual attends every event, all 70 have received support or engagement from us throughout the year, from the applicant, sorry. The question around Bay Trust funding, this is specifically to support their work in the Taupō region. While they operate across multiple areas, the application relates to the portion of their service delivery dedicated to Taupō clients and communities. And then number 3, what are office-related expenses? They're essential operational costs. They include staff salaries and wages, administration and coordination time, and office overheads, such as rent and phone and internet. Just confirm. They've then advised 10% of their overall budget is allocated to Taupō. Awesome. So the next one on the list was number 26, so Rugby 101, and thank you T for being here today. So I thought it might be helpful, because we do have some new members on our committee, for T to come up and just do a little introduction to how this is different from the Run It Straight thing that has been publicised in the news, because this is a very different sport, and he's probably the expert to be able to explain that best, if that's okay.
It's always good to have an expert that
Yeah.
knows their material.
I
So
know.
if you'd like to come forward and give us a brief explanation too, we'd appreciate your time.
Kia ora tātou. I don't know if I'm an expert for this, but I will do my best to let you know the difference between Run It Straight and Rugby 101 Kiwi Warrior. So, huge difference. We have rules, and basically we're currently in schools. In fact, this Friday we have event at the Pineland cluster. That's 5 schools, 5 primary schools. We go there and teach them how to run with the ball, how to rip. It's ripper, not tackle. Equally, as you may have seen that in November we did an event where tackle's involved. It's basically rugby league and rugby on a 1-versus-1 basis. It looks like Run It Straight, but it's not, because we use all the skills that we use in rugby or rugby league. The only difference is a smaller field. You have to, we encourage kids to develop that warrior within. Instead of hiding behind the players, you become responsible, just playing by yourself in a safe and structured environment.
Thank you, T. Do you mind if I just ask a question?
Sure.
So have you applied to the Mangakino Pokani Fund, because the Pinelands schools, the 5 that you're talking about, actually sit in that ward rather than the Taupō East Rural ward?
Good question. I haven't. We don't know a lot about funding stuff. We've been self-funding this project over the last 2 years. Last year we were successful in this funding, the Taupo Rural East, so we're grateful for that. Yeah, so it's something that we need to look at because we cover the Turangi area as well.
Thank you for that. Are there any other questions from the committee? Thanks, Ross.
Thank you for the explanation, because I was one of the ones that questioned the nature of which is great to hear, because I don't believe people should be pampered, but they should be looked after, which is good. Just on the funding, you mentioned that you've been self-funding up until recently. How was that made up? How are you funded?
It's basically coming out of my own pocket, so I paid for a lot of stuff. Yep.
Are the participants paying anything to?
Not currently. We want to have everyone involved without the burden of the cost or registration fees. At one point, maybe in the near future, we would like to have someone pay for their registration fees and things like that. But we have been, currently, the only funding that we received was last year for the first time. But because we love what we do, we know it will greatly benefit the young ones, the rangatahi. We do our best to give back to the community that way. And we're very proud because it's a sport invented here in Taupō. And that's, yeah.
Do you mind if I just jump into to say T has been working with a collective of youth worker who we're supporting too around Youth Week, and definitely delivering into say schools and with community groups in Taupō as well.
Thank you for that clarification, Brian. Thank you for your summary, T. We appreciate that.
Kia ora.
It's always good to. Oh, sorry, Rachel, I didn't see.
Oh no,
your...
that's okay. I was just
Go.
going to say that T reached out to me pretty early in last triennium, and they've come along in leaps and bounds. They've set themselves up as an incorporated society. They've taken our advice on board on how to set themselves up, and just for you, Ross, I've been and had a look at some of their events just to see for myself, and I was quite pleased that it was skills based. So they learn those skills first, and then one-on-one they use those skills, and it's not a free-for-all run it straight like one-on-one bull rush. It's really skills based, and it's generally age and weight related as well. So it's the safest way they can generally learn those skills, isn't it? Without having to play in a team that might be full of much, much, much bigger people.
There we go, that's the expert there. Thank you very much.
Thanks, T. Do we have more clarification, Brian? Yeah.
Thanks, T. So the next one on the list that we needed clarification on, or there were a couple of questions on, was from Whaiatan, who's sitting next to T, around the Hikaitonga project. 29. So there were some questions around, well, it's a startup project that we're looking to do, and it would be good to have some support or reference documents, or understand who Whaiatan is working with a bit closer around the project. And also understanding, if we're unable to fund in full, does the applicant have other means to make up the difference? So would you like to?
Kia ora, my name is Tania Withers, known as Whaiatan throughout the community. I used to work for ADDI, which is the private school for autism here in Taupō. Sadly, we closed down for funding. My job was I was also a pastoral carer there, was to place our students back into public schools, which is really hard. And in the last few years, I've seen some fall through the cracks and gone back to homeschooling, which has put a lot of weight on whānau. So my vision is to bring their mana back up, and I want to start it's called Hikaitonga, so it's around sensory cooking. So it will be for 3 to 4 hours a day, four rangatahi at a time, so they've got that one-on-one, and for them it's not too overstimulating for them, and we're working around kai, like making Māori bread, but at the end of the day it's just for them, for their unique senses, and to celebrate their lives. That's my vision for them.
Kia ora, thank you for that summary. Are there any other questions from the table, from the committee?
I do, yeah, sorry, through the chair. Hi, Whaiatan, nice to meet you. I noticed that your request is for the startup figure in full. You would have seen that we've been asked for 178,000 and we've only got 75,000 to give away. How does it affect your startup if we can't fund that full amount?
I've got supporters with the iwi, local iwi, so collaborating hui with them, and from sponsorships.
Have any of those applications been successful so far? So do you have some funds towards the startup?
No, I don't, not yet. Just
Thank you.
waiting for them to reply back to me.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. The next on the list was number 30, so Taupō Cosmopolitan Leisure Marches. We had a question around how the Cosy Club is involved with and funds this group, and do teams pay an entry fee to assist with the costs? So no, they don't apply to the Cosy Club for support with running this day. They get funding automatically each year for support with travel and accommodation costs from the Cosy Club, and to attend events out of district. And then yes, teams pay an entry fee of $35 per team.
Excellent, thank you for that clarification.
Number 32, so Girl Guide New Zealand. We managed to get a Taupō specific budget, so that's been uploaded into the system for everyone. Number 34 was the Taupō Disc Golf Club. And I know Ken's sitting here and able to answer if there's any further questions. But we just had some questions for them around insurances that they have, and that was about it. So an update too for you that they've now submitted their previous accountability report. So that's all, previous funding's been accounted for. So the team have liability but not property insurance, and have advised that if they're not successful, they will pay out of budgets, but they are hoping to secure a licence to occupy in future, and they have some plans around shade sales and that sort of stuff, if it's allowed.
Excellent, thank you for that clarification. Are there any other questions at the table on that one? No? Okay, thank you. Brian?
Just around, so Bowel Cancer New Zealand, number 37. We had a question, where does hospice and the Cancer Society fit in with this group? Do they collaborate or compete? They're definitely complementary services. Some are more one is more responsible for the research, and others for the one-to-one sort of support and advice, and then hospice from there. So definitely complementary.
Awesome, thank you, Brian.
Okay, number 39, the Lake Taupō Hospice application. We just had a question around why there was one quote provided, and if you scroll down in the quote, it was 2 pages, so they've requested the total amount, which includes GST for that item. The one quote is just related to it being quite a specialist item, from what I understand, so that's why.
Oh, that makes sense, thank you. There a follow-up question? Everyone's okay, satisfied with that? Okay, great, thanks, Brian. Oh, sorry, no.
No, just through the chair, I noticed that there was another accountability report that was outstanding from the International Mums Group. If we're going past,
it's now been submitted.
It's been submitted.
I was going to provide an update. Everything that was outstanding has been submitted.
Okay,
now,
brilliant. Thanks.
to confirm. So we did send a message to Taupō Parent Centre, so their application number 40, around what their sort of funding plan looks like for this project, but unfortunately didn't receive a response from them, so we can't provide you with an update on that. The next one on the list was number 41, the Great Lake Taupō Filipino Basketball. So we just sought some clarification for them around whether teams pay an entry fee and understanding their budget a bit more. So I can confirm that yes, each team is charged $200, and there are 16 teams that take part in the day, which is just huge. I think there's a total of 26 games. And we have worked through their budget with them and can confirm that the outstanding is $1,770, and that's the amount they're requesting of us today for the venue hire. 1770. Too many numbers. You're okay there, Ross? Cool. The next one on the list is straight under that, so Sam Westlake, number 42. We had some questions around who was delivering it. Is it a private business? We can confirm that no, it's an individual applying for the grant, and all profits made are redistributed back to local charities. So this year, those are Lake Taupō Hospice and Unseen Heroes, which is a new group that I haven't personally heard of working in Taupo, so that's cool. That request was for venue hire costs for delivering the Lake Taupō collectibles event later this year.
Thank you, Brian.
Next one down was from the rowing club, so number 43. We requested some updated quotes and information from them, as what had been provided was retrospective, and that's now all uploaded in the system, and you should be able to see, if you haven't already, see that.
Thank you.
The next one on the list, number 44, was Te Kora Wairopu. The request was for purchasing new gym equipment in their hauora space. And we had a question just around their succession planning for the organisation. We haven't received a response to that question yet.
Thanks, Brian.
The next one on the list, so 45, was from Treats of Taupō, the food festival. We just wanted to seek some clarification around who actually runs that and how it's all set up, because it appeared to be a business. The response we had is it's something that the applicant does for fun. She needs to get it set up properly, but it's a community project. We wanted to see some financial statements and evidence from the group, but that was not provided to us.
Thanks, Brian.
We are just about there, 2 more to go. So number 46, from Te Nare o Te Kohira, apologies if I pronounced that incorrectly. There was just a question around knowing a bit more about the significance of the land and where it is in Kinloch and who will benefit from the work. So the advice we've provided to you is to have a think. It is iwi-owned land, and Tanya may be able to provide a better explanation of where. If you're...
Yep, I can. It is the eastern foreshore. By the if you're looking towards the lake, it's the further left-hand side. It just past the council reserve and the stormwater gully. That Whangamata 3 block goes all the way down that way. Yeah.
So just clarifying, this is the contentious issue with access and cliffs and jumping into the lake?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, we've got our note there for you to consider as a committee. It isn't ineligible for funding, but does it set a precedent around?
So the answer to the question of where the benefit will go, is it purely to the owners of that land and not the community members? Okay, thanks.
Yeah. And then the lucky last one there is number 47 from Paula, who applied for some support to deliver Wise One fitness classes. We sought some clarification of the legal status of the applicant. It appeared to be linked into a business, and we just wanted a bit further information, but we didn't receive an update.
Thank you, Brian. Brian, thank you for all of the work that's gone into that, and for going out and seeking the further information, and for providing those summaries for us coming through into this group. Look, this is a tricky time as a committee for us to go through. We have $75,000 available, and we've got an amount of $178,387 requested. I would like to suggest that as a starting point, we go through the ones that we would prefer to decline and to create the reasons why for that. I guess I would start at a starting point with the places that we haven't received the follow-up information from. If we've failed to receive the follow-up information, then I don't think that we can proceed with their applications, is my view, and that would be the reason for declining. However, I am one member of this committee, so if there is an alternate view, I'm very happy to hear that alternate view. Councillor Cameron?
No, I don't have an alternate view. I think that's a perfectly logical way to start, actually. If the others agree, I'd second that.
Okay, thank you. So I suggest that we start with applicant 47, that we decline that application because we haven't received the further information requested, and that is the reason for our decline. Is that enough for you, Tanya, for what you need to do?
Yes, I believe that would be an incomplete application. So, yeah.
Perfect, thank you. So moving backwards then, we had item 46, te nā ere o te kohera. It's unclear as to who receives the benefit there, so, and also incomplete application, so I would suggest that those are our reasons for declining there. Feel free if anyone wants to add into whatever I'm suggesting, or if you have an alternate view. I'm not set in concrete on my views, so just feel free. So if we go back to item 45, treats of Taupō, the information was not provided that was requested, and that would form the reason for the decline of that application. The next, sorry, I'm just starting at the end and going backwards, just item 44, te Korowairopu Tautoko Inc. There wasn't a response that came back there, so I suggest that we take that one off the list as well. I didn't make notes with the rowing club, Bride. Can you just remind me?
Updates have been provided.
Okay,
yep.
so we'll leave that one there, thank you. Going to item 42, I'm struggling with the fact that we're giving money for them to then distribute money, and I just don't think that aligns with what we're doing. If there's any other views, I'm happy to, but that would be my reason for declining, is that they're going to redistribute the funds that we distribute to them, and I don't believe that that's an appropriate use of funding. Brian, can you then guide me, because I'm not sure that I've got full notes and my pages are a little bit jumbled up. Were there others that hadn't? Could you highlight those, please?
So the next one would be number 40, Taupō Parents Centre.
Yes, correct, thank you. So for the same reasons, incomplete application.
Which bit of paper did I look at? I think everyone else we've managed to get responses from.
Perfect, thanks for that update, Brian, I appreciate it. I'm going to come straight to my next point. This is the East Rural and Taupō funding round, and to what I see in that application, I only see one from the East Rural portion of town, being the Oroanui Pony Club, so I would like to suggest that we fully fund that, being that that is the only amount that's actually going to go specifically into that part of the district. Nicola?
Yes, tend to agree. The quote was for 2,000. The requested amount was 3,000. I think you clarified that was 2,000 plus GST. Is that right?
Yeah, so we pay GST on top of our grant, so I could suggest that the grant is for 2,000 and then we will pay GST for that.
Perfect. Tanya to my right is keeping a spreadsheet for us, so if we put $2,000 there, so that was sort of just my other starting point for that one. Then I'd like to suggest that we have these applications in order of a score, an average of the application. I feel, my personal opinion is that there's been a lot of work go into these assessments that have been completed by the staff, and I would like to seriously advise the committee to consider the weighting of that, and that perhaps we start with those with a 5 and think about the allocation there, where it's not going to be an easy thing to come to, but we have got these recommendations and they have been recorded against the criteria. We've had an opportunity to look. Sorry, Nicola, have you got another?
Oh, I was just going to say, well, my opinion, if we're about to go through one by one, if we're looking at going back to your point around broad exclusions, etc., I did struggle, and I'm happy to be led by how you'd like to run the meeting, and we can talk about it when we get there, but there was a criteria around the sport and recreation fell under vibrant places and connected communities, and I found there was a real difference in some of those applications. For example, the disc golf and the netball centre and the gym clubs where the money stays in the region and impacts many, versus some of the tournament type applications and the individuals, you know, travelling overseas for sports, you know, travel and that sort of thing. So I did see quite a distinct difference there, and I'm almost at a point where I would, my opinion would be to exclude the user pays tournaments, in the sense that they've got other avenues to raise that money. $35 for a team, they could, you know, increase that, and the individuals travelling. But I'm happy to
jump in there, because when we set the grant system up, we used to have a sport and rec allocation. We don't anymore. It now and arts, well, actually arts do have the creative Taupō fund there, but sports have no other vehicle to apply for grant funding. And we're not talking a small commitment here. We're talking about a huge commitment. Some of them are the Nicole van der Kays of the world, the Bevan Dohertys of the world, who have started by getting a bit of funding to get to international tournaments. So I wouldn't want to exclude them on that basis at all, just simply because they don't have another fund anymore to apply to.
Oh, so the Sport Advisory Council and scholarships that are given out annually, I know there's a very limited amount of money and it only goes to a few, but they didn't get an increase at all? Or, I mean, they can be applying there?
No, that's not a council fund at all.
Yep.
No.
Somewhere they can apply, but I understand it's not from council. There's quite a bit of money.
Bride, did you want to add? No. Okay. I think that's been good discussion. I just suggest if we go through, start at number one and work our way.
Through the chair, are there some others that we perhaps feel are not applicable? I'm thinking more along the lines of national organisations that aren't able to contribute directly to the community, or just a small portion of it.
Okay.
I would think that might be a good place to start perhaps.
Place to start, perfect. Okay, so let's look to those national. So the first one that we have there is item 4, the Royal New Zealand Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. We've got an application there for $5,000. How do you have a view, Councillor Cameron?
Well, I wonder how much they get from the national organisation versus what we can provide, and how beneficial that can be. They have other options through their national office, whereas some of our groups here absolutely don't have another area. So I'd be more inclined to perhaps not fund some of the national or the regional brain injury Waikato, for instance, who can service 70 people, versus a community group that's, you know, directly local.
Okay, so you'd like to...
I'd like to open up discussion on some of the ones that are nationally funded as well.
Okay, there seems to be a pause on that one, so let's leave that one and we'll come to the next national. So we've got the Citizens Advice Bureau, but we had confirmation that that remained local, didn't we, Brian?
Yes, yeah. Their
Thank you.
constitution is set up for Taupō district only.
Okay, the next, oh, actually, sorry, my sheet's in a different order.
The next could for consideration Life Education Trust, so that's Central Plateau. While it's a national organisation and works across the country, this is Central Plateau specific.
Okay, so we'll keep that one there. I also see item 13, the Order of St John New Zealand, but it is the Taupō Area Committee, so I'm suggesting that we leave that one in play for the time being. 16. They're all local. And then Aphasia New Zealand. How did people feel about that one being the next? I did find it very interesting, the 265 points of contact.
Yeah.
I'm just interested as to what a point of contact is, so those were a couple of the questions.
Mine too, and it's shared amongst the region and nationally as well. I think they said 10% of their budget goes to the Taupō area. So how much of this grant is directed to Taupō specifically? We talked about maybe 200 points of contact, but I don't know what that means.
Well, it's 20. It's Waikato wide for a kickoff. So it's quite a wide area, and it's not very specific about what a contact is, as you say.
Can I make the suggestion that if we're seeing a 10% touch point, that we look at $350?
Personally, I'd be happy not to fund it in favour of some of these others. Maybe we can come back to it
Yeah.
if people are still wanting to fund.
Let's take it off for now. We'll put nil in there, and we'll confirm that as we go along. Next one, item 25, brain injury Waikato. So we're talking a regional group. Are there any views that anyone would like to share on that one?
Yeah, I heard through the feedback earlier that there was about 70 people helped throughout the year, that the Taupō cost was around 10% of the overall budget, and they've already received $10,000 from Bay Trust approximately, and that can only be used in the Taupō region given Bay Trust's circulation of funding. So I'd be happy to fund others.
Any disagreement with that? No? Okay.
Can I just clarify the rationale for that is sort of prioritising more local grassroots community?
Correct. Thanks, Brian. Item 31 is Parkinson's New Zealand. Are there any views on that application?
I hold a largely similar view to the other organisations that are national or regional.
Yeah, I note in the application there's 60 locals that they help, and they're asking for sort of 2 months' salary for their local coordinator. But I'm happy to exclude in this instance for the same reason as previous, if others agree.
Seems that way. Are you right with that, Brian? Thank you. Item 32 is Girl Guides New Zealand, but Brian was able to come back to us with a local specific budget and use of the funds, so I'm happy if that one stays in because it is specifically for our local community. Nicola, you've got a view?
I must admit I haven't had a chance to see the updated local budget, and I was keen to. I wasn't aware one had been added, unfortunately. I do note they have 80 people a term paying $125, which is 10 grand, and they're asking, and there's $600 a term for the use of the venue, which is what they've asked for. So I might try and jump in now and see if I can see the locals budget before we circle back. But at the moment, it's a question mark for me.
Okay, we'll take that guidance. We'll continue on while you have a quick look there. 32, 33. Item 37, Bowel Cancer New Zealand, is the next national one that I've seen there.
Consistency.
Okay, so we've got a proposal to decline based on the same, looking at local funding for local issues. Okay. 41. Okay, so I think that takes us through those national organisations. We'll circle back to Guiding New Zealand as we go back through again. The next point that I'd like to suggest is going back to, if we start with our top assessments and move our way through and make a suggestion of funding as we go through. If there's any alternate views to that, I'm happy to consider those. Okay, so if we start with Taupō Budget Advisory Services, are there any points of discussion or debate that anyone would like to come up with there? I'd like to suggest that we start with the full amount for that organisation of $5,000. Okay. This is a start, so if we need to change, we don't have to be set to these, but it's a starting point. Item 2 is Taupō Blue Light Ventures to support operational costs, wages, equipment and travel. I think we're all aware of their good work within our community, and I'd like to start at a $5,000 figure. We then have the Lake Taupō Woodworkers Guild to support operational costs, rent of club workshop. They're requesting $2,400. I'd like to suggest that we support that in full, given their... Are we able to? No. Okay. In the past, what we've had is a spreadsheet with our tallies going, but we're unable to share that this time, so apologies. But Tanya's going to keep us in line.
She can plug it into the presenter table, and we could show it from the presenter's mic. Yeah,
That's not working at all. Yeah, it's something to do with the screens.
Yeah.
It's okay.
We tried to keep it.
We had a little discussion there about the SPCA. Has anybody got a figure that they'd like to start with there? We've got an application of $5,000. There was discussion that there's the ability to seek funding on a national scale from elsewhere, that we are prioritising local money, local community. Is there anywhere, do people have any appetite to support at all or not?
I don't mind supporting partially if there's a figure in mind.
Have you got a figure in mind?
Maybe 2,000.
Okay, let's start with that and we can come back and change that as and if we need to. Turning over the page to item 5, Taupō Community Patrol to support operational costs in general. We've got a request there of $5,000 and we've got an assessment of 5. Do people feel that starting with 5 is an appropriate place? 3? Okay, let's start with 3 and we can come back and adjust that as we go along. Next item is the Taupō Community Gardens to develop a youth volunteer program. We've got a request there of $5,000 and we've got an assessment score of 5. Does anybody have a...
Well, I'm looking at this with an obvious different hat on, I suppose. There is already a volunteer youth program at a community garden. I don't know the benefit of setting up another or whether we should be getting our groups to work together a little bit more. Youth Town also go around different areas, no cost involved, and they volunteer at community gardens already.
And we've supported them to the tune of $5,000. Okay. I struggle with replication of services. I do believe in collaboration very strongly for our community groups to get bang for buck for our community. So is there a suggestion of a figure of support for that group at all, Nicola?
I was just going to add that I think the application was actually for a coordinator role as well. It wasn't actually for, material or things that they need to keep it going. So I agree with your suggestion around, collaboration of resource, human resource included.
Is this for a new facilitator? Because there's already a paid facilitator. I did see that in the works,
Thought
in
it was
the
help to
financials.
pay for that paid facilitator, but I'm working off my notes. I'm not on their application.
They wanted the coordinator wages and equipment, gardening gloves and things they're looking at.
So does anybody have a figure in mind there if we're not looking at the full amount? Thank you, Michelle.
Kia ora.
Well, I guess I'll just ask my question. Have you worked in with the other community garden that already has a youth volunteer program, or Pathways, or Youth Town for that matter?
No, none of those organisations. The reason this conversation started was initially with Volunteer Great Lake Taupō, because they reached out in regards to a program that would match what they were seeing within the community was needed. And then there's just been some preliminary conversations with the guides and the scouts, and then a bit of contact with Taupō College as well.
Okay, so I can tell you that there is somebody you need to talk to out there who's already doing all of those things. So perhaps I can talk to you afterwards.
Definitely.
Because those conversations have they've been going on for quite a long time, and all of those schools currently go through the Taupō Time Bank Community Garden.
Cool.
Yeah, so it might be that we can pool resources.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions? Thank you for coming up, and
problem.
thank you for being put on the spot. Is there a starting figure in mind? No?
Tricky when you've got a conversation that's going to happen afterwards that may, you don't know the outcome to. So it could be none for now, but that's,
Okay, we've got
If
that.
it's specifically for some gloves and some resources, then perhaps $1,000 to help with that. But I would like to see the conversation go, a little bit further, so that we're not funding everyone across town and we're funding one organisation, perhaps working together.
Thank you. So we've got a suggestion of $1,000, so let's put that in there to...
Can I speak to that?
Yeah?
Just because we have... In regards to resources such as gloves, etc., we do have a great relationship with Bunnings, so I don't feel that I would be spending it for the sake of spending it, which I don't think is fair.
Okay. Well, thank you for your honesty on that. Really appreciate that. That's,
No problem.
That's really well received. Okay, so we'll record that at 0 at this point. Next item that we have, item 7, is Taupō Town Centre. So we had notification that they've received $8,000 from another source, but they can still be considered for this fund. So we have a request of $5,000 and we have an assessment score of 5. Are there any views around the table around the level of support for this one? Nicola?
Can I wouldn't mind hearing from Julie if I'm able to say that, just as to how that, she's only just heard the results from the Creative Community Scheme, so just firsthand, if that's impacted this application at all, or would love to hear you direct if that's possible. Thanks.
Thanks for that. Yes, that was news to me. I had been looking prior. It makes no difference to this application. So we are in search of a total of about $45,000 funding. Town Centre Taupō puts in 10 on top of that. Town Centre Taupō also pays for all of Ken's and my wages, so none of that is included in our applications. The other thing I'd like to point out is that in the past, we used to receive funding from the events team. It went from 15 to 12.5 to 10 to 6 to 0 last year. So from, excuse me, in terms of Taupō District Council directly supporting Graffiato, this is the only method we've gone to try and get that support.
Thank you, Julie. Are there any other questions of Julie? The only thing I'd like to speak to on this one is, sorry, thank you, Julie.
That's okay.
You're allowed to go and sit and relax now. Thank you. I travel to other towns and I look at the graffiti that we see around the place, and I look at when we travel through our alleyways, and I was watching visitors and locals alike, in awe of some of the murals that we have on the walls. On the weekend I heard quite a lot of discussion around the one dropping down to 2 Wharetoa Street, so it was a classic example of people really appreciating that, and I think it does make our town beautiful and vibrant, and it's just nicer than seeing a whole lot of graffiti, is my personal view. So I'd like to start with a figure of $5,000, but if anyone has an objection or a differing view, I'm happy to. Okay, thank you. Item 8 is Awhina Taupō Community Food Bank. So this is to support the food security project, boosting storage for community distribution. I'm looking at the amount requested being $5,000 and the assessment score being 5. My personal view is that things aren't getting better in our community. The cost of living is not getting better. I don't think we always appreciate the people that need this help and support, and the difference that they make in people's times of need. So I'd like to start with a figure of 5,000, but if anyone has a differing view, then I'm happy to consider.
Is there any reason why they're not able to use their own funds that they've got in reserve, which is quite substantial?
Brian, do you have any?
Can you hear me? All I know is that that's tagged for future projects and stuff that are on the go.
And how much is that?
I'm not sure.
I thought it said $1 million. It's $1 million for future development. It said they had $1 million for future development, and they also had another, I can't quite remember the money, but that was for some money that they were given they sold something, and that's actually, I think it's $250,000, which they actually keep, they top it up every year so it doesn't lose the funds. But I feel, for development for that sort of money, I think they do a really good job, but I do feel that sometimes you have to use your own funds.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Cameron?
I was just about to say I concur with that. I did notice that there was quite a lot of funding there, whether it's all earmarked for grant allocation. I know that when you receive a grant for a specific purpose, it sits and it has to be allocated. If the money was set aside for that reason, I could understand. But if what we're hearing is true and there is a development fund, it does beg the question.
Okay, so is there appetite to support Ross?
Yeah, excuse me. I just need some clarification, I guess, because the books actually show that the Awhina group, that 1.2 or whatever million sitting in there, but the food side of things is a different set of books, different account, which is running at a loss. I'm not sure how that works, but to me, they're certainly not making money on the food bank side of things. But if it works, I don't know how the system works, so it's very hard for me to
I
make
guess
a
the way
decision
that
on
I'm reading the project, it is to boost their storage, so
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
capital expense
Which is part of the food,
versus an
yeah.
operating
Yep.
expense.
Yep.
Any other views? Is there an appetite of any level of support given that conversation?
I'm happy to offer some support towards the organisation, but if it's specifically for some capital expenditure, I'm wondering.
Okay, well, we can only approve what's been applied for, can't we, Briar? There's no other. Yep. Ross, you've got something? No. So we're declining based on it being a capital expense and the funding that's sitting within the funds that could be used to support.
Yeah, look, I'd like to come back to that. If there's some funding left over and we're looking for someone to apply some funding to, that's something I support the Awhina Taupō Community Food Bank. It's just what they've applied for that I'm having trouble with.
All right, so we're going to put a question mark there and come back to that one. Item 9 is age concern Taupō. So we've got a request to support operational costs, wages. So we have a requested amount of 5,000 and we have an assessment score of 5. I'm sure, like all of the groups, we are well aware of the work that they do. I'd like to start with a figure of 5. However, if there's a differing view, I'm happy to consider.
I would suggest a starting point of 3.
Is there any differing view of that? Okay, we'll start with a 3 and we can always review. Whoops, I whoopsied up. About the East Rural situation, sorry team, the Wairakei Community Group. To support the costs for the Wairakei Community Matariki event. They've asked for $972 with a ranking of 5. I'm very happy to reference the great work that these people do. They astound me every day what they do, so I would like to suggest the full amount. But if there's any, okay. And it is a great event to go out to, just giving them a plug for that too. We then have the CAB. We had the discussion around national organisations. Bri has been able to advise us that it was to stay within our local community, local funding. Does anybody have we have a ranking of 4.75 and we have an amount requested of 4,720. Does anybody have a starting figure there? Rachel?
Honestly, I think they do such a lot of good work across all areas of the social services area of the district. I'd like to fund them in full.
Ross?
Yeah, I'd like to concur actually, because going through all these applications, there's a lot of need in the community, and there are actually places people can go to find the things they need, but they don't know. How do you know what you don't know? And these people do a great job pointing them in the right direction.
I agree. They bridge the gap. So yes, if we can put that full amount there. Okay, then we have item number 12, which is Family and Financial Solutions Trust to support operational cost wages. So we have a requested amount of $6,000. We understand that our total limit is $5,000. We've got an assessment score of 4.75. The applicant has been advised of that. Do we have any opinions of where we would like to start with this group?
I'll jump in if no one else wants to. Again, it's tough financial times. I do want to support this area of business. I know that they're already oversubscribed. I'd be inclined to perhaps look at 3.
Okay, we have the view of 3, so let's start with that there, please, Tanya. Item number 13, the Order of St John, New Zealand, and it's the Taupō Area Committee, which brings us back to our local point. And we have a request there to purchase automated external defibrillators, AEDs, for a residential community. The cost there is, the request is $3,392 and a ranking of 4.75. Are there any views on this one, Rachel?
Where are they putting it?
Yeah.
Brian?
Through the chair, I guess my queries would be around who looks after it once it's there, because it needs annual testing and batteries are not cheap to replace in those. So as long as...
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. At the moment, we have roughly 100 AEDs throughout the current district. I'm running an audit on those at the moment. We have a shortfall in the Nukahau area. The closest AED to Nukahau is based at the Acacia Bay shops. Allied to that, there is also a situation if there is a cardiac arrest in the Nukahau area, it takes an ambulance a minimum of 8.5 minutes to travel from Keehan Drive, from the ambulance station, to the Control Gates Bridge.
That'd be on a good day, I'd suggest.
Absolutely. So, okay, you I guess, took the words out of my mouth, so as to speak. But also in tandem with that, throughout our community, we have people who are known as Good Sams or Good Samaritans. And they are people who make themselves available that when a 111 call goes through to the ambulance service, they can then contact a Good Sam in the area to go and assist in the first instance. What we want to do is to make equipment available to those Good Sams to provide that assistance. At the moment, that equipment does not exist.
Thank you.
May I?
Yes.
So once the AED is installed, who maintains that and who looks after it?
I then need to put that funding into my budget on an annual basis, that this would be a St John provided, owned, operated and maintained AED. In conjunction with that, my aim is to then find a sponsor in our commercial world to put a second AED in the same area or the other side of Nukahau. So fairly big area. If I was to say, take Pennyville as an example, it's still developing today. There is a standard that says, and my operational colleague would help me, that possibly an AED should be within 3 minutes walking time. It doesn't take, it takes a lot longer than 3 minutes to walk from one side of Nukahau to the other. So it becomes an operational cost for our area committee on an ongoing basis. And I would fundraise for that.
Through the chair, I just question. Oh, just to clarify, you may have said this. Where would it actually live? Does it live at the Good Sam's house, so they get notified that there's a problem in the area, and they have it with them and they take it, or where does it? Where would it go?
The funding applies for an external case, all-weather case, and in conjunction with probably our neighbourhood support group and statistical data that St John can make available to us, we would then look at where an AED would best be sited within the area. So yes, it could be at somebody's house. Yes, it could be perhaps adjacent to a reserve.
And you mentioned there's already 100 in the region. I realise Nukahau's hasn't got one at the moment. How often are they used?
That is a very good question, almost impossible to answer.
Oh.
What I'm finding at the present point of time is that we're picking up a lot of failures in our audit, so I don't think it's any secret, but we recently went and had a look at the AD at our information centre, external mounted cabinet. We sought permission to open the cabinet and we found the AED was dead. So
that's why my question, why I've asked my question is who's looking after them, who's making sure that they continue to work, who's replacing the batteries, who's doing the annual testing.
Very simply, when an AED is put into our community today, it is the responsibility of the person who procures that AED. They become well aware of that. Up until the check that we actually carried out at the information centre, they had a regular program for actually doing that. Unfortunately, the machine then failed after its most recent check. Yeah, so those things do happen. In contrast, the public library, they check theirs every Monday morning when the library is opened. So they've got a weekly program in place. They budget to replace their battery and their pads.
So will you be relying on the building owner to do that, or are you going to do that on the building owner's behalf to ensure it keeps going?
What we will do is the audit that we're currently doing at the moment, we will continue to do that on a rolling basis and point out to our businesses whereby battery expiry dates are coming up, pads are coming up, and they need to budget to replace those components themselves. Our area committee, St John, could not afford to do that over the number of machines that are based in Taupō, Mangakino and Turangi.
Any further questions?
Is there any point of having it then?
I'm sorry?
Is there any point of having it then if you can't afford to maintain it?
It's up to the business who procures it in the first place to maintain it.
So are you saying that if we give you the funding for that, it's on us to do that, or?
No.
No.
What I'm actually saying is, if you give us the funding to
Yes.
put an AED
Yes.
into the Nukahau area,
Yep.
then my area committee
Uh-huh.
becomes responsible
Okay.
for maintaining that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. No different to the information centre. They now have a brand new one in place. They are responsible for that. And it's ongoing maintenance.
Thank you for that clarification. Oh, sorry, Ross, you've got a point?
Yeah, just I have. I just think it's a really good thing to do. Not when it's not coordinated though. The maintenance and the ongoing. I would have thought to put such a life-saving device into a community anywhere would have an obligation to have it maintained and in working order. And I'm just wondering why it isn't coordinated across Taupō.
From this point on, it certainly will be. I can give you that personal undertaking. I guess if I was to look at the committee that I have now taken on board, perhaps they were a little bit depressed. Perhaps they were not as proactive as what the current committee is now starting to be. And this is just simply one field that we're now starting to embrace.
Okay. Any further questions? Thank you very much for your time and for coming and presenting.
Thank you for the opportunity to comment accordingly.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a figure there of $3,392 with a rating of 4.75. Does anybody have a starting opinion for that one? I guess my views are that there is a portion of Nukahau that we could consider as a deprived community that potentially wouldn't end up with an AED through their own personal funding, just as a point to consider. I do think the transport time is quite a concern, trying to get across that bridge through town. But Rachel, you've got a view?
I just have a little concern, just given that they are quite specialised pieces of machinery. It's not like anyone can use it, so we're going to have to rely on the Good Samaritan to be available and in the right place in order for the time frame to be reduced. I'm struggling a wee bit with how that would improve.
In conjunction with the provision of an AED, St John itself provides what's called the 3 Steps to Life course at no cost to any organisation. We would come in here now and provide your committee with the 3 Steps to Life course, which includes dialing 111, all the right things to say, the right things to do, undertaking CPR, and also the use of the AED.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just suggesting that there aren't a lot of people around Nukahau that are going to be immediately able to do that, and I don't see that it will actually reduce the time of getting an ambulance there.
So
my feeling is that we probably need to come back to it. I'm not comfortable funding it in full at this stage based on what I've heard.
Are there any other views?
Yeah, I guess I'm struggling a bit with the lack of data around how often the ones that we have got are being used. It could be, and I agree with Rachel, it seems like a lot of things need to line up to even be able to use it, once the right person at the right place with the right training. I suspect, it's not unachievable, but I'm struggling a bit with it at the moment.
Okay, so we'll leave that one on pause and we'll move on to item 14, which is the Taupō Netball Centre to support the Positive Vibes Only program and court hire. So we've got a request there for $4,000 with an assessment score of 4.75. Are there any views that anyone would like to start with or a starting point for this one?
Well, I guess I'm just going to jump in with a sporting hat on and just remind everybody that there is no other fund for a sporting organisation such as the netball club to apply to be able to put on a community event. So if we can just give that a little bit of consideration, I'd appreciate it.
Do you have a figure in mind?
I would be inclined to look at perhaps half, 2,000.
Okay. Are there any other views? Okay, if you could put in 2,000 there, please, Tanya. Moving on to item 15, we have the Life Education Trust Central, no? Oh, look at that. We have things on screen. Da, 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 da.
I just need to kill that.
Okay. Item 15 is Life Education Trust Central Plateau. So we took out the national entities and we're looking, because this is a local based one here. So we have a request for $5,000 and we have a ranking of 4.5 under the assessment, and it is to develop take-home packs for Taupō and Taupō East rural schools. I struggle with this one, Briar, because I work for Life Education Trust and those resources are already created and the schools get charged for them.
I was just going to note for you that the applicant has also applied to our Turangi-Tongariro fund. They've already received a grant from us this financial year, so that means only one of their applications in this time, either to here or the Turangi Fund, can be successful. The allocation meeting for the Turangi Fund is next week.
In light of that, I'd like to decline it, that they can, there is a reasonable amount of funding within the Turangi area, and we are under a fair bit of pressure here. So, if there's any other views on that?
They do amazing work. I love what they do. I don't think we're in dispute around that though. And the work that they do going into schools, because schools used to pay for the packs, maybe doesn't mean that they're still paying for the packs, or are you talking currently that's the case?
They're already created, so they've got
Right.
their programs that they teach, and then they have the take-home packs that go home. So I'm
Okay. Yeah, enough question marks to maybe not support this time.
Yeah. Item 16, we have Emma Hampson-Tyndall to support travel costs of attending the Australian Gymnastic National Championships 2026. Briar, have we supported her in the past?
Yes, Emma's applied to us and used to apply to the community sports grant. So we last supported her actually in the last funding round. I can't remember
I
what
believe it might
was
have been
for
the
travel and
Worlds.
accommodation.
It was for the Worlds, I believe.
Yeah, but she has submitted her accountability report to us.
So we have a request there of 2,500 and we have an assessment of 4.5. We've had some views from Nicola and we've had some views from Rachel. Does anybody have a starting amount here that they would like to consider or not?
I'd like to suggest 1,500.
Okay. Are there any other views to discuss? Okay, we'll start with 1,500 there and we'll see how things continue. Item 17, we've got Pregnancy Help Taupō. Their request is to support operational costs, rent and wages. We've got a requested amount there of $5,000 with an assessment score of 4.5. So they've also made a request to Turangi-Tongariro, so they can only receive from one or the other fund. Are you able, Briar, to tell us what the amount of the Turangi?
I can. Hold the line, please, caller. No, there's about there's 40,000 available to. Oh no, sorry, 25,000 available to give out, and they've had 87,000 requested.
Okay. So if we choose to support this, they become ineligible to the other fund. Are there any views on how we want to proceed with this one?
I'd like to support them. I think if we don't, there's no guarantee that Turangi will. I don't know the percentage of the work that they do in this ward versus that ward, but I thought they were based here. So I would like to see some support go to them from us.
And what level of support? Do you have a suggestion?
2.5 or 3, yeah.
I'd support 2.5.
2.5.
Okay, let's record 2.5. Then we have item 18, which is the Taupō neighbourhood support to support operational costs, wages and rent. We've got a request of $5,000 with an assessment score of 4.5. Are there any views anybody would like to start with there?
She does a really good job.
Have you got a starting figure there, Annika, then?
Or perhaps 2.5.
Okay, is there any disagreement there? No, so we'll put in 2.5 there, thank you. Item 19, we have Ruth Tremaine to purchase fabric for pyjamas for children and their families donated through Pregnancy Help Inc. So we have $1,000 and we have an assessment score of 4.5. So this initiative has been running for 20 years and Ruth first received funding from TDC in 2025 for this work, for this mahi. Are there any views on this one, Nicola?
Oh, I think it's awesome what she's doing. I do wonder if there's been any reach out to fabric shops for that sort of donation of that sort of thing. I didn't see an application that had happened, or whether Pregnancy Help could support her in that space. Seems like a great opportunity for contra partnerships. Yeah.
Did you have a level of support you'd like to suggest?
Can I suggest
Rachel?
500?
Okay, let's put in 500 and we'll take it from there. Item 20 is the Momentum Charitable Trust to deliver life and financial skills programs. So we've got $4,380 requested with a ranking of 4.25. Are there any views that anyone would like to share, any starting points or not? Rachel?
Can I clarify, at the last meeting I believe we supported, was it one course or it was a specific, was it 2 courses? Did we hear how that went at all?
We've had their accountability report come in. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I can bring it up and send it through to you.
So is this I just don't have it. It's a bit difficult without all the past detail to refer back to easily. Is this to deliver 2 courses again, or is it just
one?
Just the one? And is that the sort of help that's meaningful for them?
Are they Hamilton based, aren't they? They're quite a big organisation that run that.
Yes, I understand they are based up in Hamilton.
Okay, so then do we need to consider it based on our other...
Oh, it says that the project will directly benefit up to 40 people residing in Taupō. I do have a bit of experience outside of this with the Life 101 program, who deliver very, very good programs. They're a very reputable company, but
Do you have a suggestion of a starting point?
Money and Me program from Life 101, and then it says up to 20 individuals in the Taupō Community Correction Centre. Oh, that's for part of the project. No, it is two projects, 2,190 each.
I'm just concerned that they're going to come back every year for our assistance in this regard. Should we be, perhaps, I'd be happy to fund one this time, and then perhaps next time they'll be funding it elsewhere. I don't think they can come to council every funding round.
Just through the chair, this is a conversation we've had across other committees, and with our funding system now we've been providing tailored feedback if they do receive a fund, but actually that the committee would like to see you apply elsewhere, so we can definitely do that or provide that feedback.
Yeah, just on that, if they're Hamilton based, they may not be aware that they could get their, they could go to Bay Trust for their Taupō portion of expenses as well. So education in that space could be useful.
So am I hearing an appetite for any level of support?
I wouldn't mind looking at half this time or none at all. Just, I think as I say, I don't want to have this recur in every funding round that we're just expected to fund two courses.
Anyone else's view, Annika?
But how many prisoners get released to Taupō?
40 apparently. Well, 20 per course, but...
So is there a...
How about we come back to it then?
Okay, so we'll leave it out for now. So we've dealt with item 21, item 22. Item 23, I'm going to probably say this wrong, Nikia Williams, to support travel costs for Nikia to represent New Zealand in polo cross. 3,500 is the amount requested, and we've got an assessment score of 4.25. We have had two opinions around sports and this fund. So is there a level of support that I'm hearing for this application, considering the level of support that we have considered for Emma Hampson-Tyndall? Right.
Oh, look, I note that this is a young, exceptional sportswoman. She's only 16, I think, and she's qualified to represent New Zealand. I think we should support that in any way we can. Whether we can support it in full under the current financial constraints, probably not, but I'd very much like to look at half.
Nicola?
Yeah, my comments at the beginning were prior to being filled in the knowledge around the change, given the last training when I wasn't here. So I'm not opposed to this support, so appreciate the background. I think if we are doing that, then we need to be consistent and probably the same percentage as we did for the previous one.
So
Okay,
based on that, we'd look at 2,000 for Nikia.
Okay. 2,000, please. Thank you. We then have item 24, the Kinloch Community Association Incorporated, to purchase pavers and signage for the Kinloch Beach mat. So my recollection of this is a disability mat that enables people with mobility issues such as wheelchairs to gain access to the lake that they wouldn't perhaps otherwise be able to do.
Correct.
So we have a request of $4,447 with an assessment score of 4.25. Rachel, you've got your mic on, so I'm figuring you're ready to go.
I am. I did a little bit of work with the KCA to get this implemented through iwi and hapu discussions and so on, and it's been so well received and well used. It's one of the few areas around the entire lake where people with physical disabilities are able to access the water. It did get particularly slammed by the weather, unfortunately. So all this is looking to achieve is to make it just that little bit more permanent, so it can withstand some of the weather and the heavy use actually that it's been attracting. So I'd be happy to fund that in full.
Are there any other views, Ross?
Just clarification here, because I thought it was for the signage and pavers.
So the mat was put in place, but it didn't hold up well against heavy traffic and the weather. So they need to, when they put it out next time, make it a bit safer, a bit more permanent, and that's where the pavers and the signage will come in, because people were also driving over it, not able to see it.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
So we have a suggestion of supporting in full. Are there any other views? Nicola?
I would very much like to support it. It feels a little bit, in fairness, to the other well-meaning and great projects that we're talking about, when the score is being less than 5, we have been giving a percentage, so I guess I'd say 3.
I guess I'll just go back to the point that Kinloch don't ask for much. It's the only application in here.
Okay, just a point that Tanya's sharing is that they have self-funded everything else to do with the project.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. They're a community-led organisation. They saw a need. They've fundraised for it themselves. This is the first time they've come to council to ask for any funding.
So based on that, we want to support in full, or is there another view, Ross?
Oh no, I just actually with the information that's coming out, it's good to support different areas, and Kinloch hasn't had input, so.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll put in the full amount for now, and we can always review should we need to. We've covered off item 25. We then have item 26. We heard from T, who presented to us regarding the Rugby 101 Kiwi Warrior Incorporated. To support the marketing and operational costs for the Rugby 101 sport, we've got a request of $5,000 and we've got an assessment score of 4. This entity or this cause has been supported in the past by this committee, so we've just had a discussion around ongoing support versus people standing on their own 2 feet. So where would we like to take this one, Nicola?
I'd happy to see a percentage for this time round, and again maybe some support around other places that they can be getting longer term funding. I do note that some of the spend will be on social media, digital media marketing, which I think will benefit the sport, which is great, but not necessarily the kids in the district. So I don't really have a starting point in mind, maybe half, but I'm open to other people's opinion.
Rachel, you've...
Yeah, look, I'm as you know, I'm a supporter, and we've supported in the last funding round, I think pretty close to in full, but we are reaching that point now where we can't give out the same level of funding every single year, and we do have to find ways to help our organisations become self-sustaining. I'd be inclined at about half as well, and then perhaps, Bri, you can follow up to give them some advice on other third-party funding options out there.
Through the chair, it's really awesome. Our strategic partner, Sport Waikato, has been working with T and the team to access some funding through that space too. So yeah, definitely on our radar.
So we've had a suggestion of 2,500, so we'll put that in for now, and we can always revisit. Item 27, the Taupō Multicultural Council to support operational costs, training, rent and resources. We have a request there of $4,945, and we have an assessment score of 4. Are there any views around this? Any starting points? Nicola, I see your microphone's on.
I just note that they suggest there was 155 members. I do know that we've got, and the cost was for internet and office, and we did fund, I think, last round, and $1,300 of that was to purchase a laptop. So I do have some reservations as to the dollar and impact. I don't know if anyone's here to speak on it. Happy to support, but at a lower level than is requested.
Have you got a starting?
Open to other people.
Oh, so she's here.
Val, would you like to? Yeah, perfect.
Glad you're here, keen to know more.
Welcome, Val. Lovely to see your smiling face.
Thank you. We have been extremely busy setting up database, finding all these people living in our community, and also trying to organise English language and resettlement support for them. And so the use of the computer and whatnot has been really important. We have identified over 3,000 people within the area, the whole district, that are wanting support. We've had social gatherings, so what our aim is to support our community. We say we want a vibrant and inclusive community, and this is all part of our kaupapa. So we have been working extremely hard, and in the moment negotiating with a national body to be able to bring a tutor here to train some volunteer English language tutors. So.
Just to speak on that, we employ immigrants within our business, and until people have permanent residency, they're not eligible for any funding to learn English or to have any of that support. So people can arrive here without that level of support and it can take up to 5 years to get residency to then be eligible to have support. Sorry, Annika, you...
But since ESOL or Taupō English Language Partners have gone, and there was a huge need for that, I think Val's picking that up, aren't you, Val?
Yes.
Yes, and I actually, from working at the CAB, we could actually see there was a huge need for it.
Thank you for that. So, thank you, Val. We appreciate you coming up and answering those questions for us. Do we have a level of support that we'd like to suggest starting off here? Rachel?
Could I suggest 3?
Okay, we'll record 3 there, please. And we'll move to item 28, which is Taupō District Riding Club and Bridleways to support the maintenance of bridleways. We've got a requested amount there of $3,105 and we have an assessment score of 4. Bri, you want to say something?
Just through the chair, this is something we've funded previously, so it may be one you choose that we provide the advice of looking elsewhere longer term.
Is there any appetite within the committee for any level of support, or the fact that we've supported in the past?
Yeah, I note it's for maintenance, and so, yeah, it seems to me like that maintenance is going to be required annually, so, yeah, it might need to be self-supported elsewhere.
Okay, so
I'd suggest maybe looking at half this time and then a similar sort of discussion that they are going to have to look at other ways of becoming self-sustaining.
Did we support them last time?
I think we did.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, close to in full as well, because
Yes,
they do a lot of really good work.
Yeah.
It's just, again, I'm back to that, we can't keep doing that for everybody every year.
So we're looking at half, 1,500 to start off there. Item 29, we have Whaetan present to us around a project looking at food for people with autism and supporting their sensory needs. So we were made aware that she has applied elsewhere and that this is a full startup cost. So we've got an amount requested of $4,933 and we have an assessment score of 4. We have a note there that under our eligibility requirements, we cannot fund the purchase of food for events. Given this request is for a program of work, it is considered to be eligible. Do we have an appetite within the committee to support this or not? And any level that anyone, if that's a yes? Nicola?
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I had a bit to do with ADDI when it was open, and yeah, it was a massive loss to the community and those whānau that were involved with the school, so thank you. I would like to support it to some level. Obviously it can't be for the food, but there's other items here that you've outlined. Partial support would be great, and I'm not sure how it's worked in the past with if you don't get full funding to get it off the ground, whether that's we put something in, that it is returned
That's the hard part about it, is that if it's not
fully
used, it has to be paid back, and I don't want to put this applicant in that situation if she's unable to get the rest of the funding. So do we look at a seed funding amount for her to be able to go out and get more funding for it to be approved, or are we willing to fund the startup in full? That's just what I'm struggling with a wee bit. And interested in other people's thoughts.
Any other views? So we've got a suggestion of some, we've got a suggestion of the whole amount.
I'd be happy with some seed funding as long as it didn't put Tanya in a really difficult position if she was to have to pay that back.
So do you have a figure in mind?
Maybe $1,000 to get started.
Okay. So we've got a figure of $1,000 there for this application. We can come back and review that later should we want. Okay, we then have item 30, which is the Taupō Cosmopolitan Leisure Marches to support venue hire for 2 May 2026 event. They've requested $1,078 with a ranking of 3.75. Do we have a level of support at the table?
This was partly what I was alluding to at the beginning, was the groups that are running tournaments that have user pays funding model that could be, without maybe ignorant, but altered to help cover this cost. Like $35 a team, we heard at the beginning, is not much when you've probably got 10 people in a team. Again, I don't know a lot about the sport, but making an assumption. So I do struggle with supporting this one.
Okay, thank you.
Without any further information on it.
Rachel, did you? I saw you leaning
Yeah,
forward.
I share a similar view. It's specifically for venue hire, and I would have thought an extra few dollars on the ticket or the application per person would have covered that. And the Cosy Club is a community organisation in and of itself. I wonder what level of support they're offering.
So we have had the issue around venue hire in the past that we haven't supported it because it's been money in, money out. So just a point to consider. So I'm seeing.
Through,
Brian, go.
through the chair too, with the Cosy Club supporting, we got feedback from them that they support with travel and accommodation costs out of town, not when it's in Taupō.
Oh, okay. I'd imagine they'd benefit from holding the venue in their own, the event in their own venue, however.
Okay. I'm hearing a lack of appetite to support there. We'll just come back to 32 Girl Guide New Zealand. So we had an application for 2,400 with a score of 3.75. So we were told that we had a Taupō specific budget that came back to us. Nicola, you were wanting to review that slightly before we considered it?
Yeah, I was able to do that. So Taupō Girl Guides looked like they had an income of about 40,800, expenses of 41,050, so a loss of $250. That included $2,400 received from TDC, it looks like, last financial year, 2,400, yeah, which is what they're asking for again. So if we're back in the, same model, we did give them the same amount last year. They are receiving 33,000 in term fees. Are we looking at a user pays sort of model here, or are we happy to keep repeating funding at the community group to the same level every year?
I'm happy to look at half. I think they're an incredible organisation. I think they're an affordable organisation for younger people. If we put too much user pays, can they continue to exist?
I agree, and with the ones that we are giving them a bit of a heads up that it can't be an annual thing, giving them half with that heads up seems like a fair
Okay.
Agree.
1,200? Okay, perfect. Can you record that? Item 33 is Mount Tauhara Gymnastics to purchase new heaters for the gymnasium. They're requesting 3,800 and we have an assessment score of 3.75. Are there any views on level of support for?
Seems to me like a similar application to the netball centre, given its upgrades. Netball Centre have done a whole bunch of upgrades. I know they were applying for the court hire in the program, but the Gymnastics Club have put an extraordinary amount of money, efforts to put insulation into that. So I would like to support it. We did support half of the Taupō Netball Centre, so I'd like to see half.
Rachel?
I'd agree with that.
Perfect, and I believe that we've supported them in the past, so that would be consistent with our other treatment. So if we could look at 1,900, please. Thank you. Item 34 is the Taupō Disc Golf Club to replace vandalised metal basket hole parts. So we have a request of $982 and we have an assessment score of 3.75. We had some questions around insurance. So we had liability insurance but not property insurance. I note that we have supported in the past, so is there an appetite and where does that sit for this application?
I'll be honest, I'm struggling with this one a little bit. I support the organisation, obviously, but I don't think that we can be the backup insurer either. So happy to have some discussion around that though.
Happy to invite Ken to come up and speak if he wants to. I'm a little bit the same as you, Rachel, but it is something, when I look at the sports aspect of these funding things, there's some that do impact many visitors and locals, and this would be one of them. But I did note in the preamble too that you did have opportunity to fund this. It would just be at the opportunity cost of something else.
Yeah, that's correct, and I understand the concerns, and I fully appreciate that. Yeah, we as a club committee decided based on sort of risk levels with regards to property insurance that sort of wasn't worth the risk, simply because the baskets are fairly bomb-proof. Obviously, we've been proven wrong. We'd never certainly expected anyone to sort of take a weapon to a basket and do this type of damage. So that was surprising and disappointing. And yeah, to be honest, the application, I wasn't going to go through this process for this particular purpose. It was Sport Waikato that suggested that we do this. And so I thought, okay, we have done some good things through this program, this fund before. And I wasn't sure if this was the sort of thing you guys would fund. So I fully understand. There is these other pieces, such as the license to occupy discussion that's still, up in the air. And if we are successful, then we do have some cool things. As mentioned, shade sails. Actually, we'd love to put in a structure at the first tee that was like a shade structure, which is sort of a long-term goal for us at Spa Park if we are able to be successful with our license. And that's kind of what we're saving our money for. As potential that Taupō Disc Golf would own and maintain if that would ever be possible. But anyway, yeah, so that's the deal. We do need to replace the basket parts because of the damage. It was repaired to a degree for free by Armored Engineering, but the repair wasn't able to sort of return it to 100%. And so the galvanizing is damaged and it will rust. And so the parts will need to be replaced at some point.
So it is repaired at the moment. It's just extended repairs.
It's repaired to a degree, so it's playable. But in the long term, it'll need to be replaced. And also the repair wasn't perfect. And so for us to host a sanctioned tournament, the baskets need to be up to a certain standard. And our next tournament is in October. So we'll need to replace them before that point.
Thank you. Thank you for presenting to us.
Thank you guys for the chance.
Look, I appreciate your position, but I'm not comfortable funding this. Sorry.
No, yeah, I'm a bit the same. Sorry, Ken. I do love what you're doing, and I do love it. But yeah, I would use the money on these and stand under a tree.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to look at your own insurance. I mean, every community group out there has to do the same. As much as it's an expense we don't like to have, it's a necessary evil in today's world. And I'm not at all surprised that someone took a bet to those. And it's a sad state of our society that I feel that way. But unfortunately, I'm not surprised.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so we have decided not to fund that. Thank you, team. Item 35, we have got the Good Bitches Trust trading as Good Bitches Baking to support operational costs of the Baking It Better Taupō program. They've requested $1,000 and there is an assessment score of 3.5. Is there an appetite to support? I note that we have supported this in the past. I think they do a great job, but where does that sit with us at the table, Nicola?
Yeah, I think they do a great job too. I noticed only their headquarters accounts were provided. We didn't request or get their Taupō branch accounts at all, I'm guessing. Yeah, so it could fall into the category of half with a reminder that we're not here for annual funding.
Okay, so we'll record $500 there and make those notes regarding the trading. I'm now going to hand over the chair to Councillor Cameron.
Okay, thanks for that. Just on the back of the declaration of a conflict of interest, Kylie's stepping down for this discussion, but I don't have a problem with her remaining in the room if that's all right with the rest of the committee. Brilliant. Okay, so Taupō Academy of Dance to support travel costs for the group to attend the She Shines on Dance tour. Now, I know a lot of time, money, effort, practice and qualifying was needed for this team to represent us in this dance competition. So really recognising the fact that this is probably about a year's worth of work for these girls. Would that be about right, Kylie? 18 months worth of work to qualify and get themselves over there. So any views from around the table? Nicola?
I just, as I outlined at the beginning, falls into my getting my head around what we're doing with sports, and then in this case sports teams. So I notice Taupō Rowing Club are coming up with a similar application down the sheet as well. I recognise they fall under Vibrant Places, Connected Communities. I'm a bit, like I explained with the sports, some of the money impacts and goes, like the heating for the gymnastics club, stays and impacts the community for a long time. These are individuals, but we have also supported some individuals that are travelling, so I think we need to be consistent. I don't know if I can help with a starting figure, but I'd be interested to hear what other people think, and then I might come back to that.
Okay, sounds good. Ross, do you got?
Yeah, I agree that it's beneficial for organisation, for our community, for people to be here, but dancers and sports people only get better by travelling. We're only a small community, so perhaps not full funding, but definitely would support partial funding for this, because if athletes and creative people don't get outside their local environment, they don't grow, and then they can't pass on what they learn to the community. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. And the She Shine dance tour is something that many, many girls aspire to. So it's not just the current girls that have done the hard work and have got there. It's the aspiring dancers from the grades below as well. I mean, we're talking quite a large dance company here. Lots and lots of girls will look up to the girls that have put in the hard work and achieved their dreams, so to speak. So I see it benefiting quite a few people.
Can I just share something else? So,
yeah, sure.
Last round, Dance Central was supported to the tune of $5,000 to travel to Christchurch. It wasn't a qualifying event, it was an event to attend, so that is a precedent.
Quite right, and as I say, they've actually had to work really hard to be eligible. So this is a bit like reaching national standards, I guess, for dance. So I'm certainly in support of funding to a certain degree. I know it does have an assessment score of 3.5, so where would we be comfortable to start?
Just to overall comment again, I think there's a lot of sports groups that aren't aware, and that's not our problem, but that this is available, and I think we're going to get perhaps inundated. There's hundreds of sports teams that travel from Taupō.
I think the ones that tend to come here are at national level, typically. Yeah. Regional or national level.
Yeah. 3.5, maybe
3,500.
Yeah.
What else have we? Oh, Anik's gone. Are you happy with that, Ross? Do you think that's a good level? All right. Well, let's put 3,500 in there for now. We can always revisit.
Okay, item 38 is the International Mums Group. So there was an outstanding accountability report which has now been received, and we're looking at a request there of 1,300 with a scoring of 3.25. Is there an appetite to support, and if so, to what level? I think this is a really interesting subset of our community. I can't even imagine what it would be like moving to another country, not speaking the language, food's different.
New mums need support no matter what nationality, but if you're away from your core support network, It's
And
each
I
other.
just suggest they haven't.
I've been invited to a few of their things, and they do amazing. They've got a real good group, and they had this lovely at the Christmas parade. They did amazing things at the Christmas parade, and look, I think they're a great group of people.
I noticed that we have supported them in the past, so I'm just thinking with consistency that if we looked at half.
Yep.
So $650 for them. Next item is Lake Taupō Hospice, and item number 39, to purchase a specialised air mattress for patients. We've got a figure there of $4,657 with a ranking of 3.25. I'd like to see full support for that because you can't buy half a bed. Okay, I'm happy to receive other views. We have supported in the past, so do we want to look at half then if we're going to be consistent? Rachel?
Well, I was sort of wondering how we would fund half a bed as well, but I do suspect there'd be additional funding available
Yeah, they
to
can
them.
apply to funding. I worked at Rotorua Hospice for a year, and you can apply to grant funding and often get, half the amount. It'll go towards the new bed. I also just looking at their accounts and wonder how much, compared to other community group accounts that we're looking at, how, if they've got more funding than others do. So I'm happy to support half.
Half?
We
Okay,
wanna
so
support.
can you do the maths on that? Make it round.
Make it 2,300.
Yeah. 2,300, 2,300. Item 4.1 is Great Lake Taupo Filipino basketball. So we've got to support venue hire for the 5th Winter League one-day tournament. We have a request of 2,500, but then that dropped down to 1,770. We've got a ranking of 3. They've requested and been supported in the past, so do we want to look at half of that 770?
Well, there's a bit of consistency here with the Marches group. That was they also were asking for venue hire for a tournament, and we declined that based on a user pays model with people coming from outside the region in. They've got quite a few teams coming in.
Happy with that in light of that comment. Thank you very much, Nicola. Moving along to item 43, which is the Taupo Rowing Club. To support travel costs of the Taupo Rowing Club Junior Squad, we've got a request of $5,000 with a ranking of 3.
So
in
when
light of other applications, I'd look at $3,000. Is there any differing view to that?
I guess I was just going to point out that typically what we would be funding for a club or a group, this is quite similar, isn't it, to the netball club and.
No, it's travel. So it's
Oh, is this more travel?
Group, isn't it?
Except that have they had to qualify for an event, or have they reached a level at which we would consider? Is there somebody here? Oh, perfect.
Would you like to come forward, Fraser, and answer those couple of questions for us, please?
Just with the person.
So I guess my question is, what specific travel are we funding? Is there an event specifically that they've had to compete for and are now eligible for and need our support?
Yep. So there's the Māori Cup at the end of the season. Yeah.
So the kids are eligible, they've got their spot?
Yep. They've qualified. They've done the work, yeah.
So in light of that, I'd like to suggest the $3,000, keep it in line with what else we've done.
I agree.
Put that in there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for answering our questions. How's our number looking? Okay, so we have around about $3,000 more that we can allocate.
So there were 2 that we put on pause. The Order of St. John and the Momentum Charitable Trust are the 2 that I saw we put on pause.
Okay. Momentum, and what was the other one, Nicola? Sorry.
The St. John's, the DFIB equipment.
I'd like to support with the rest of that, the balance of that funding, the with you later because I think the impact on Nukaho and the size of that community there, I still have questions around momentum and the fact that we've supported them in the past. I'm, however, one person and open to views of others.
I'd be probably more inclined to support half of momentum, one course, a bit like we've done for the others who have applied. Say, right, you can have half this time, but then you need to be self-sustaining from now on, and then whatever's left, I'm happy to put toward the AED.
Well, it was 2190, wasn't it, for the momentum, and then it's 2,411. So it would give them 300 for the
Okay.
defib.
Does anybody object to the split that we're looking at there?
I don't think it's
No,
We can reduce the momentum down a bit to give the St John's a reasonable amount, let's say 1,000, and then the rest to momentum. I would just like to give a little bit to momentum given the good work that they do. St John's, I just have some concerns that we do need a few ducks to line up before that will actually be
So let's support
viable.
the momentum to the one course, whatever that figure was, the 2,100. And if we could provide advice to St John that we're very interested in the application, however, we'd just like to see succession and the planning to ensure that the resource is going to remain a community asset and not a community liability. Ross, you've got a...
I was wondering whether we agreed wonder if we agreed on an amount for the RSPCA.
2,000.
With 2,000 question mark.
We had 2,000.
Okay.
Sorry, I should have had my microphone on. We had $2,000 sitting there and then to come back and review it should we want to at the end.
We can also take a little away from the SPCA to even the last three out as another suggestion.
Well, we've got $221 left, so let's just, where would we like to apply that?
Is that, sorry, just to clarify, does that mean with nothing going to St John's and with the advice for them to come back next time with,
Correct.
Cool. So, I don't have an opinion, maybe blue light.
Did we do blue light? Oh.
Blue light got the whole lot. SPSCA got 2,000 instead of 5. Community Patrol got 3,000 instead of 5.
Can I suggest that we apply the additional $200 to the community patrol? So we've given them $3,000 at the moment. It would be $3,221 in some sense. Right, well done, team. That was a mammoth effort, and we've come to the end of it. And I'd just like to reiterate thank you to our community for applying for funding, and thank you to the people sitting at this table. This is not an easy job to do. And thank you to our support people that work within the council for all of the outstanding information and for the support that you've provided us. I think every year we refine this process and we get better and better at the process. So thank you very much. Now I have a motion to put forward.
There's
two motions. Sorry, I'm just coming back to my... Okay. The recommendation is that the Taupō East Rural Community Grant Distribution Committee approves in part the application for the second funding round of the 25-26 financial year for Taupō Academy of Dance.
I think she need to step down as chair.
Oh.
Right, step down as chair, you just abstain from voting. Just abstain from voting.
Okay, so I can stay where I am.
Yeah.
Those in favour? Anyone against? Oh,
Happy to move.
Thank you, Rachel.
Both motions if need be.
And seconder, Annika, thank you. And could you please record my abstention from that one? Okay, the second recommendation is that the Taupō East Rural Community Grant Distribution Committee 1 approves in full, in part, or declines the remainder of applications for the second funding round of the 25-26 financial year, and 2, provides a rationale for declined decisions. Could I have somebody move that, please? Yep. Thank you, Nicola, and seconded Ross. All those in favour? Anyone against? Carried. And then we just have our closing karakia, please, team. So we have Unia Hiti Riro o Tēnei Hui, ki wāta I ranga, ki wāta I raro, aro ki te tika, aro ki te pai, hue tae ki e. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time, people.